Tonight's What the Papers Say was to have been presented by Harry Whewell, Northern editor of The Guardian. He's unable to appear because of illness. His script will be delivered by David Marlowe.
Delivered by. Has a fine ring about it, doesn't it? Anyway, if you're watching Harry from your flu-ridden bed, get well soon. There can hardly be any literate inhabitant of these islands who doesn't know that the Times is in imminent danger of extinction. For nearly 200 years, it's been as much a part of the British establishment as Parliament, the Church of England, Lord's Cricket Ground, and Harrods New Year Sale. But now it's served notice that unless someone with an acceptable background and bank balance comes to its rescue by the end of March, it will disappear from breakfast tables, newsstands, and club libraries from Land's End to John O'Groats. But how many people would you have to stop in the street before you found one who was aware that a newspaper at the opposite end of the spectrum was in equal danger of its life? I'd guess that not one passer-by in 1,000, perhaps not one in 10,000, would know that the communist Morning Star was also staring death in the face. The position was set out on its own front page on Monday.
Communists challenge. Don't be left without a daily voice.
Make it Star Action Year.
Britain's communists this week start a year of effort to put the left's daily paper on a safe footing. The Communist Party's executive, in a special extended session at the weekend, called on communists and all others who depend on Fleet Street's alternative voice to ensure that many more new readers are found for the paper in the coming 12 months. Editor Tony Chater had told the meeting that the paper was
facing the most serious crisis in its history. At stake is the very survival of the paper.
Only an increase of several thousand copies daily could save the Star. It was a mandate on which communists had to succeed at all costs.
Of course, none of this will come as any surprise to those who read the 20,000 copies sold in this country every day. Neither will the 20,500 members of the British Communist Party suffer much of a shock. In all its 51 years' history, neither the Star nor its predecessor, the Daily Worker, have ever enjoyed the luxury of a comfortable financial position. Alone among newspapers, it expects its readers to pay the cover price, a hefty 20 pence for 6 pages, and make a donation as well. And it's forever taking its financial temperature in such pronouncements as these.
Star Fund.
Monday AM Zest.
The first letter I picked up yesterday morning came from shop stewards at the Ferranti Cairo Mill, Oldham. They sent £7, which is
the first of regular weekly donations.
Each of them also pledges to win a new regular reader of our paper. I read the other letters, which brought in total £370 15 and gave an early boost for January. All can see why I welcome this Monday morning with more zest than others I can recall. The total for the month so far, £911. Some of the other donations received: £5 30 from friends at National Bus Derby, £2 from Clennon North Lodge NUM Wales, £5 from the shop floor Leylands Lancashire,
etc., etc. The Morning Star boasts of being the only daily paper owned by its readers, and it's in lists like this that the perils of that position become apparent. I must say, I'd be doubtful about working for a publication where a gift of £5 30 from friends at National Bus Derby warrants such prominence. Of course, not all the working capital comes in such penny numbers. Some trade unions make quite considerable contributions, although these gifts are often challenged by officials and members who are doubtful about whether this is a proper use of union funds. This row, reported in The Guardian last year, is fairly typical.
Evans defends gift to Morning Star.
Against a mounting chorus of criticism, Mr. Moss Evans yesterday defended the decision of the Transport and General Workers Union to contribute £5,000 to the Communist Party newspaper, The Morning Star. Mr. Evans, the General Secretary of the 2 million strong union, insisted that the paper was not owned by the Communist Party and was run by a cooperative. It happened to be
one of the very few newspapers which has a sympathetic approach to the very serious problems the trades unions were facing,
he said. Despite bitter protests from Labour MPs and others over a contribution to a publication which opposed the Labour Party, Mr. Evans argued that the Morning Star was really a Labour paper.
I mean that not in the sense that a politician might mean, but as a worker would understand,
he added. He promptly won the support of Mr. Alan Fisher, the General Secretary of the rival National Union of Public Employees, who said that despite its communist connections, the Morning Star was the only newspaper independent of the normal newspaper proprietors which consistently put over
a working-class point of view. The T&G action is not unique,
said Mr. Fisher.
They simply sent a larger donation than perhaps some others might have done, but that is because they are the biggest union.
Money is also raised by sales of work, dances and bazaars, activities more suited, one might have thought, to church tower restoration appeals than the promulgation of the class struggle.
Morning Star 50th anniversary.
Grand social.
The Harry Gold Quartet.
Super Tombola.
Buffet meal.
Bar.
International stall.
Tickets, £2.50 single or £4 for two, includes meal.
Not much profit there to prop up an ailing newspaper. And there are even Christmas cards of a sort, just like your local Oxfam.
Mark's card. Plus envelope.
£2 for 10, including post and packing.
Gift pack. The first 25 cards for CND, NCCL, PROP, etc., etc., and Father Marks.
£2.30 for 25 different, including post and packing.
At Christmas, Marxists are just as nice as Christians.
K. Marks.
Well, of course they are. Advertising is the main source of revenue for most newspapers, but obviously with its small circulation and its rather specialised readership, the Morning Star hardly commends itself to many of the big spenders in the advertising field. The big multinationals are hardly likely to take full-page spreads to appeal for fresh capital, or to trumpet abroad their record-breaking profits and generous dividends. No, rightly or wrongly, the great mass of consumer advertisers, from soap and car companies through breakfast foods to fashion houses, somehow feel that the response from dedicated communists hoarding their coppers for a new life of Lenin or a visit to the German Democratic Republic is likely to be slim. Accepting this as inevitable, the managers of the paper fought a long campaign to get a share of government advertising. The Save Energy campaign and the Busby telephone ads, for example. In 1976, this met with some success from the last Labour government.
Morning Star space for government.
The Morning Star will be eligible for government advertising in future. Mr. William Price, Parliamentary Secretary, Privy Council Office, announced in the Commons yesterday. The decision to change government policy had been taken because the newspaper had now agreed to supply independently audited circulation figures upon which cost-effectiveness could be judged.
In future, it will be considered for advertising in the normal way and on the same basis as every other national newspaper.
It wasn't a decision which went unchallenged.
Mr. Blaker, Conservative, Blackpool South, suggested that it was curious that the government should take this decision when more than one-third of the Morning Star's circulation was sold abroad
As a form of concealed subsidy for the Communist Party of Great Britain.
To which Mr. Price retorted,
It is not the only newspaper which sells abroad. What you and your friends are really asking is that government advertising should be withheld from those newspapers whose policies we dislike. If this government put that into practice, there would be some suicidal managements in Fleet Street tonight, led by the Sun, the Express, the Mail and the Telegraph.
In the event, the victory for the Morning Star doesn't seem to have been a very significant one. The amount of government advertising it attracts doesn't look as though it puts very great pressure on the compositors in Farringdon Road. Taking the size of its readership into account, the Star does reasonably well for small classified advertisements. Not unexpectedly, they tend to be unique in style and content, and like similar items in the Times, attract a readership which savours the flavour without necessarily applauding the sentiment.
Marriage.
car round trip. This day, Saturday, at Leeds Register Office, in a brief respite from the election campaign in Goole, Bill to Dell.
New Year greetings.
New Year greetings to the revolutionary working class, the international proletariat and the militant Popular Front at Stratford Rails. John Atfield.
Or perhaps not.
John Atfield of Lewisham would like it known that he did not place a greetings advert in last Monday's, January the 5th, Morning Star.
Ah, well, must have been another John Atfield. And what would you make of this impenetrable New Year greeting?
The party committee of the Workers' Institute of Marxism, Leninism, Mao Zedong thought send warm greetings for the new year to all in the labour and communist movement in the world and Britain who are actively struggling together with the people of the whole world to smash the old world of feudalism, capitalism and imperialism and to build a new world of socialism. A. Balakrishnan, Secretary, Party Committee, which upholds the leadership of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China and beloved Chairman Hua over World Revolution. P.O. Box 226, Brixton, London, SW2.
Donations and advertisements apart, the Morning Star has benefited in the past from a rather unconventional money spinner, the so-called star market. Articles such as watches, cameras and radios, mostly from the Soviet Union and other Eastern Bloc countries, have been offered for sale to readers at highly competitive prices. And this week's special offer is a Daily Worker first issue tea towel. Excellent value at £1.20. And you can read the plight of workers during the 30s depression as you do the washing up. But it was announced in Tuesday's Morning Star that the market is losing money and so is to close down.
The business committee at the Morning Star regrets to announce that it has been obliged to take the decision to close down the Star market as soon as present stocks have been cleared. The accounts show that the market is now making serious losses. Given the acute financial problems facing the paper, such a loss simply cannot be sustained by the Morning Star.
Due to a whole series of factors then, some general to the newspaper industry, some peculiar to itself, the Morning Star is in trouble and ready to admit it. The question arises, would its disappearance from the newsstands matter to the great majority of us who are not communists or sympathizers? Or if you're one of those who thinks that the death of any newspaper diminishes us all, how much would it matter? Well, putting the best first, we think that many trade union leaders and active union workers, and not a few Labour correspondents on other newspapers, would miss its extensive coverage of industrial affairs. Naturally, it has very good sources of information in factories, mines and workshops, and it makes full use of them. Some other readers would miss it for the traditional short shrift it gives to news touching on the royals. This item appeared on January the 1st, 1930 in its very first issue, and of course on the tea towel.
Prince's jaunt.
To travel into impenetrable jungle by train.
With his valet.
On Friday, the Prince of Wales will again start a jaunt that will cost thousands of pounds of the money the workers have earned for him. He's going to Cape Town, and from there will journey into the jungle by train. There he will display his intrepidity against the wild beasts of Africa. His valet is to accompany him, probably to hold the rifle. An official of the Kenilworth Castle on which he is to travel states that he's expected to play a prominent part in the
Strenuous.
deck games which are to be played on board.
Otherwise, he will use an ordinary first-class cabin with the usual dressing room.
And this on page 5 last week.
Death of Princess.
Flags on government buildings will fly at half-mast today as a sign of mourning for the death on Saturday of 97-year-old Princess Alice, Countess of Athlone, the last surviving grandchild of Queen Victoria.
In contrast with such stark factualness, it can sometimes mix comment into a news story just as brazenly as communist papers in other parts of the world, as in this on the royal romance saga.
Press, prince, and peppered car.
Sun reporter Sian Lancaster, her car was peppered by gun-toting royals at Sandringham on Friday, has made no official complaint to the police. She said yesterday that neither she nor her paper intended to complain, although it is an offence to fire a gun within 50 feet of a public road. The tame, loyal acceptance of the hazards of nosy Parker journalism is typical of The Sun, which happily carried the story on its front page on Saturday, headed Shotgun Prince and a Sun Girl.
The Morning Star's layout is sharp, clean and attractive to the eye. Indeed, it's won several design awards. On the debit side, for the organ of an international party, its foreign coverage is often disappointing, even allowing for its limited resources in money and space. Its feature coverage is poor and unimaginative, and its attempt to appeal to sectional interests amongst its readers, such as women or children, is old-fashioned and even amateur. Its current series for younger readers is a typical example.
Accomplish the seemingly impossible.
Mystify without elaborate apparatus.
It looks for all the world as if it's been culled from the 1906 edition of 1,000 Things a Boy Can Do, and surely an unforgivable waste of space in a 6-page paper. There is an old proverb that creaking gates hang longest. The Morning Star has been creaking loudly for most of its half-century history. I hope it goes on, creaking and hanging a good deal longer, although I'm not entirely sure that it deserves to. And as for those of you who wish it ill rather than well, never read it and hate all it stands for, well, let me recall to you an alleged exchange between its first editor and Stalin. "How many readers have you got?" Stalin asked. And when given the figure, which was no more formidable than today's, Stalin is reputed to have replied, "If that is all the party can get to read its newspaper, what chance has it of leading a revolution?" From, as if Harry Whewell, good night.